Hey, are you a business owner, entrepreneur, or professional? If so, we want you to apply to be a featured guest on our show. My name is Adam Torres, and I host the Mission Matters series of podcasts. I've recorded over 3,000 episodes, and we are just getting started. How do you know if you'd be a good guest to be on the show? Well, only one way to find out, and that's to apply, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We want guests that have a story to tell. Guests with a brand, a product, or a service that can benefit my audience of listeners. If this sounds like you, go to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. I'd love to talk to you and get to know more about your story. Again, head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Douglas Hurst on the line, and he is chairman over at Northern Vertex Mining Corp. Doug, welcome to the show.
Oh, good morning, Adam. Thanks so much for calling.
All right, so we have a great topic today, Doug. So turning overlooked projects into huge success stories, and that's exactly what you're all about. And I'm excited to do a deep dive into Northern Vertex Mining Corp and get a feel for the company and its progress. But before we do that, I'd like to start with our Mission Matters question. So, Doug, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. So that's our mission. Doug, what mission matters to you?
I think that especially in the mining industry, which is a very technical industry, it's full of all sorts of strange geological jargon, but really just creating shareholder value. And so really what we, the management group at Northern Vertex, have done collectively a couple of times is to find assets in the industry that the industry has really forgotten about or is overlooked. And so what we find is that we find assets that we can easily apply some of our technical expertise to just add value. So we're not looking for 10, 15, 100 times value. We're looking for base hits, sort of 100, 200, 300% kind of returns, which are comfortable, and the way that we do it is by reducing the risk. And the mining industry is an incredibly risky business. And so what we try to do is that we try to control risks that we can control. So something like the price of gold is not something that we can influence. But there are technical risks that we can control. And so as a consequence, our track record shows that we have done this several times. And so we hope to do it again with Northern Vertex.
Fantastic. So just to get us kicked off, how does a commercially minded approach get deals done?
Well, really, in negotiating deals, what we try to do is that we try not to destroy the other party.
Yeah.
Because it's a very small industry and you end up dealing with the same people again and again and again. And so really what we do try to do is to try to generate a win-win scenario. And that way everybody makes a fair return, but you're not nailing the other party's feet to the floor. And so we're very big on coming halfway and expecting the other group to come halfway. So that's what we mean by commercial terms. Yeah.
What areas are you exploring in? Like, well, what's your geography?
Well, the geography is the planet, but I think that there are parts of the planet that are no-go zones. So, in the simplest terms, if you think about taking your kids or your grandkids on vacation, what are the countries and the places that you would go to do that? And really what that implies is that is there rule of law? Is there security of title? Is there infrastructure in place? Is there power? Is there potable water, those kinds of things. And so there are certainly parts of the planet which are a little tougher to operate in. But so generally what we like to look at is North America, some parts of South America and Australia are the go zones. And there's a whole bunch of areas that are no-go zones. So just think about taking your kids on vacation. And that's probably the easiest way to figure where we will end up doing business.
Mm. And so tell us a little bit more about Northern Vertex Mining Corp. So tell us a little bit more about the company. Right.
Well, Northern Vertex owns a mine in northwestern Arizona called the Moss Mine. And the Moss Mine was put into production about 2.5 years ago. And you could argue that the mine was put into production a little bit premature, so that they really didn't drill off enough ounces. They didn't have a big enough footprint for the mine. But the exploration potential was wonderful. So because it's a small mine, a lot of investors are really looking for sort of 70 to 100,000 ounces a year of annual gold production. And this mine generates 25 to 40,000 ounces a year in gold production. So it's a little under classic mining investor radar. And so a really easy way to generate a lot of value for shareholders is to bring an asset from the unknown or the forgotten category into a bigger operation, so that we look for more ounces, that we can build a bigger operation, and we start to tell the world about it. So you just have to tell the story to investors a little more often. And previous management was okay at that, but they weren't great.
So, Doug, it's obvious that you're an expert in mining, in the mining sector, and this is a money show. And a lot of investors listen to this because they want ideas. So, like, how do people really? And this isn't a loaded question, but how do people make money in investing in the mining sector? Because you've obviously been in the space for a long time.
Yeah. So I think that probably the best way to answer that is just to find, as a management team, to find assets that either the market or investors have forgotten about, or that we find hidden value in. So we spend a lot of time digging through reports and digging through the details, and so what we're looking for is assets that are just a little under the radar, and ones where we can add some technical know-how to add a good deal of value. So in the gold mining industry, a really good way of doing that is to find either an asset that the market has forgotten about, or in this case, the Moss Mine, which is one that we have just purchased. The Moss Mine is generating about 25 to 40,000 ounces a year of gold. And the mining investment community really looks for slightly bigger assets. So 70 to 100,000 ounces is kind of that threshold. So if we can generate a bigger resource on which we can build a bigger operation, that will generate an enormous amount of value with just a small change in the size of the operation. And so we've done this a couple of times in our careers, and this is just another example of finding an asset that was a little under the radar and then telling people about it and doing some of the technical work to make it bigger.
No, that's awesome. I love it. And so we talked about investing. We've talked about some of the ways that you're finding value in assets that maybe were, as you mentioned, off the radar. And so let's go a little bit more into the people behind this. So, whether it's investing, mining, or really anything else, I mean, give us your view on, how people fit into all of this equation.
Yeah. Well, so the president of the company is a guy named Mike Allen. And as you mentioned before, Adam, I'm the chairman of Northern Vertex. And Mike and I worked together at a previous company called Northern Empire. And in Northern Empire, we bought a project in Nevada called Sterling. And it was just one of those projects that people had forgotten about, and it really just wasn't generating much value for the company that owned it. So we bought that asset for $13 million Canadian, and we raised about $40 million Canadian, and we had a whole bunch of drilling, and we enhanced the asset, and then we turned around and sold it for about $120 million Canadian. So that was so you generated 150, 160% on your money, and it was over a fairly short period of time. So that was less than 18 months. And now, there are a lot of groups that generate a lot of value over a long period of time. So if you generated 100% rate of return over 10 years, then you're generating a 6 or a 7 or an 8% rate of return. But if you do it over a year or a year and a half, you're generating a much better rate of return. So time is a big factor there. So when you look at the people that we've involved in Northern Vertex, there's a depth of experience on the board that most of the board members in one form or another have developed dramatic success. So I think that collectively the board over their careers have generated $7 or $8 billion of either takeover value or corporate value. So it's a very seasoned board with a lot of experience. Yeah.
Man, that's great. And I'll tell you, Doug, so this has been great getting a vantage point into what's going on at Northern Vertex Mining Corp. Also, just how to generate value in the mining sector and what you're doing. So that being said, if somebody's listening to this and they want to follow the journey of Northern Vertex Mining Corp. or any of the other projects that you're working on or boards that you're sitting on, I mean, I know you're very active in the sector. I mean, what's the best way for people to do that and to connect?
Probably the best place to go is to go to Northern Vertex's website, and that's northernvertex.com, just like it sounds. The symbol on the Canadian Venture Exchange is NEE, so Norman Earl. And then that's a pretty easy way to get to our website. And then from there you can see some of the other projects and things that all of the directors are involved in. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Doug, again, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing your passion and your mission behind what you do and why you do it. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. Hope you learned a lot. If you did, don't forget, hit that subscribe button. We want you to be a return listener and a return visitor, have many more mission-based entrepreneurs and businesses aimed at adding value coming on the show next, and we don't want you to miss any of those. So thanks again for listening. And Doug, really appreciate you coming on the show. It has been a pleasure.
Oh, Adam, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much. Cheers.